Well, hello, everyone. It is Bob Nagan, and this is going to be a very exciting call. I'm really excited. I have my friend and colleague Nick McHenry from One Shop Retail with us, and we are going to be answering any and all of your retail marketing questions. Several people have submitted their questions. Thank you for those of you who submitted them in advance. So we got something to start with. But the name of the game, this is your time. So please chime in. In fact, right now, if you wouldn't mind chiming in, who you are, where you're from, maybe you can put a question in chat right now. Get us going. So your participation is what's going to make this call great. But before we begin, Nick, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited, Bob, as always.
Good. I always like talking to you. I like talking to smart, nice people. So, anyway, before we start, tell us a little bit about One Shop Retail.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, I mean, my background is I worked in the fashion industry for a long time, spent my career, I like to say I'm a lifelong retailer. Basically, since age 16, I've been working in the industry. I was actually a wholesale rep for a decade before starting One Shop. So, I was traveling to stores, spending time on store floors, working with the retail stores. Obviously, as a wholesale rep, it's in the context of how do you make your brand known? How do you get your brand to sell in that store? And then we started One Shop Retail, really with the sole purpose of getting more sales from your existing customers. We like to say don't be victim to passive organic foot traffic. So being able to control your own destiny, and so we have a variety of tools in our software that ideally integrates in your point of sale system, from like your core loyalty program to your email marketing to your text marketing to your social media scheduling, kind of all in a single place, i.e., like One Shop. A single spot for you to do all of your customer communication, really taking those existing customers and turning them like from first time shoppers, we say, to lifelong fans, and get them to shop ideally more at your store through some of these kind of smart, engaging communication methods.
Yeah, no, and they're so right on. They're so right on. And so before we begin, just to sort of make this to give everything some context, because I'm sure we're going to come back to it. I learned this from Jay Abraham. There's only three ways to grow your business, and that is get new customers, increase your average ticket, and get more transactions per customer. Now, getting new customers is the hardest way to grow your business. It's work. Everybody knows it's hard to get new customers, but it's necessary. The second way to increase your average ticket is the fastest and most efficient way to grow your business, but there's a cap to it. When I was in the toy business, I was never going to build my average ticket to $500. So you can work at it and, sales training, pricing, all those things. You can get it up there, but at the end of the day, there's only so much you can do. But what I really love, and this is why I love talking to Nick, is the best way to grow your business in the long term is number three, more transactions per customer. Because when you can stay focused on building the lifetime value of a customer, great things start to happen. And this is what Nick focuses on. So if you haven't, if you don't know about One Shop, I would encourage you, maybe Nick or Indy, you can put the website in there or some contact information. You owe it to yourself to have a conversation with Nick. Let me just say that right here, right now. So let's see. Why don't we do this, Nick? Why don't we start with one of the questions that came in earlier? And actually, this question was asked twice and in different ways, but one was Tumbleweed Toys says, is there generally a percentage of your gross revenue that you should use towards a marketing budget? And another one came in that said, how can I track the effectiveness of my advertising for my brick and mortar stores? Most conversions are geared towards e-commerce site, but this person is brick and mortar. What would you say to them, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, for the second question specifically, or for the first question?
Let's start with the second one.
Yeah, why don't I mean? So for the second one, I mean, uh, it's a very tactical question, I would say. I mean, like
Yes.
we get this question all the time, and like to get a little nerdy right off the get go, guys, like it's I, e-commerce is easy to track in the sense of, I mean, traditional metrics for like marketing conversion for e-commerce are click-through rate. Basically, like most softwares out there that focus on e-commerce businesses, you click through the link and they buy through that link. So like with the internet, you can just like track all of that through the purchase and be like, okay, Bob got sent an email or he got sent a text or I put a link on social media. He clicked that. He went on the page for 30 seconds. You just know everything. With in-store conversions, it's just a lot more gray as a whole. Like it's just going to be gray because like the average customer is probably engaging with you across channels. The average customer is probably getting your emails. They're probably following your social media. They may have gotten a direct mail piece from you. Like they might get several components. And so it's hard to attribute those single things. So we like to say a couple different ways. One, whenever you do marketing campaigns, whether, and this can be done like through our platform or other platforms out there, to track just general spend. So like at a high level, it's like, okay, if I send an email out, I know that 100 people open that email. Of those 100 people that open that email, I can look at, say a 1 day, 2 day, 4 day. We like to say look at the context of that email. So if I know that email, like, okay, it was for a sale this weekend, my conversion I want to look at from that email is usually just like, let's say that weekend. It's a good starting point. Let's look at the conversion dollars in that weekend specifically. And then just track from your point of sale system, like, okay, here are the customers by email, how many of these customers came in, and how much do they spend. So at a high level, that's like the very basic, like, okay, what was my loose conversion? It's not 100% accurate, of course, but it will get you at least a number. Most people are flying totally blind.
Yes.
Go ahead, Bob.
Oh, so what I was going to share is we have a mutual client, Maureen Doran,
Mhm.
and she has a rule that for every dollar she spends on a promotion, the goal, the expectation, she works towards returning 20 in sales. So that is, and so she supports it. To your point, she
Right.
supports it with social media and email marketing. She does clienteling
Yep.
with your platform, but that's a good example of what you're talking about. You know how much you're spending more or less, and you know how much you're getting from it more or less. So I love that answer. But I love also what Maureen is doing. And so I just want everybody to start thinking that way, thinking in terms of return. It doesn't have to be precise, but you have to understand that, you have to understand the numbers that are being generated by what you're doing. So I'm sorry. So go ahead. I just wanted to chime in about
Yeah.
Maureen there.
Yeah, for sure. And like one thing about, and you can go so deep here, guys. Like, so you can go down a total rabbit hole, but just working with Maureen and seeing how she does things. I mean, the good news with most people on this call is most people on this call are independent retail stores. So because most people are independent retail stores, you're going to, I mean, at the end of the day, you're not having thousands of people come in on a weekend, right? Like that'd be great if you did, but the numbers aren't so big that honestly, even if you have to do this manually, like send an email out and then pull your sales receipts from that weekend, let's say maybe you have 50, 60, you could honestly look customer by customer and be like, oh, wow, Bob opened my email and he came in. Okay, great. I can see Bob spent $200. You can even go granular. Like Maureen actually goes to a customer level and says, okay, which customers came in to get that $20 from my $1 in spend. On a more tactical level, we see this and every point of sale system can do this, is there's a lot of tracking that people don't think about built into their point of sale system. So the two ways that when we work with customers to do this with is either being more specific with your coupon codes. So like if I'm doing a coupon redemption in any point of sale system, let's say, a lot of times people will just be like, well, I do this thing. Like, let's use an example, Bob, of the 6 box program, which you and I both love.
Yep.
Okay. Is that oftentimes we'll see people put like a promo for Fifth Saturday as like a singular coupon that just lives forever. That will work. We like to be more targeted with your couponing and actually create target specific coupons specific to that single event. So actually have like you can have like a subcategory of coupons, let's say Fifth Saturday, but having each Fifth Saturday have a unique coupon code. So that way you can track, otherwise it's harder to track. Like how have you had 4 Fifth Saturdays? I'm not sure how many are per year, Bob. You would know the answer to that.
There's four.
There's
Yeah.
4. So there's 4 per year. I would have, Fifth Saturday 1, 2025, Fifth Saturday 2, 2025, 3, and 4. So you can actually subdivide your analytics across those. You can also create what people call like a $0 SKU. So like, if, let's say coupon coding is not working, you can create like an actual barcode to track the sale itself. So I could create an item with no inventory that's called, Fifth Saturday 1, let's say. And then now when you pull your data from your point of sale, you can actually analytically see, okay, what were my dollars driven from that specific transaction. If you don't do the upfront work of that, it's very hard to backtrack. Like we have people all the time come to us. They're just like, what was my conversion? And we're like, well, what did you do? Did you create a coupon code? Did you create an item? Did you da 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 da? And it just becomes very hard to track because it all gets blurred together into sales. You're just operating business as possible. So there is a little bit of upfront work there, but I promise you it'll pay dividends when it comes to tracking conversions.
Yeah, that's great. And so, for everybody who was here live, if you wouldn't mind rating yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. One is you don't track anything, you don't know what's going on, you're throwing stuff on a wall and hope that it sticks. And 10 is you're dialing it all in the way that Nick was talking about here. If you wouldn't mind, typing in the chat, where do you fit? Because this is really interesting to me, Nick, because, in both of our communities, we have different levels of sophistication. And, some people are, your better clients are hyper sophisticated in watching return. And some people are new. And the thing that I want to share with everybody is where you are is where you are. So if you hear Nick going into the weeds about it, don't be frustrated by it. Just say, look, I understand that this means that I have opportunities to grow. And again, I would just say to Nick, to everybody here, talk to Nick. Start to see it. Oh, so I see an 8 from Neil. I see Vanessa
5,
with
2.
a 6. Lydia with a 5. All right. Junior Pandy, 8.5. There's always somebody who's got to have the single, 8.5. But I absolutely love it. A hard 3. So good. So Zach and Karen, let's go back to this idea. Or Jody, you have opportunities here. And so this whole idea of what tactics are the most effective, it just, I would also say to that, Nick, and you can speak to it, is um, what tactics are most effective are determined by so many different things. Where
Totally.
you are, the industry you're in, the kind of relationship you have with the people in your community, and all of those things. So thank you to everybody who chimed in with your numbers. And again, if you're doing great, that's wonderful. If your numbers are low, this just represents a real opportunity. So now let's go to the second question then, and that is about a percentage. This idea of, and I get this question so often. Hang on, I got to get back into where I wanted to be.
Yeah, this actually came from Tumbleweed Toys, who's on the call right now.
Yes.
So
Okay, good, good. So Nick, you start off. I've got some strong opinions about this. You start off and we'll go from there.
yeah, I mean, so the question is there generally a percentage of your gross revenue that you should use toward your marketing budget? And so once again, you can get very complicated here. I would say that, and I think Bob and I are on the same page here, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts, Bob, is the question, if you just look at it as a cost line item, which is just is a cost, like, okay, I got to put in the bank each month, like let's say I did $10,000 in profit, I got to take 3 of that and put it right back into marketing. If that's your thought process, you're probably never going to have good marketing. It's always just going to be like, oh, we're just feeding the beast. And you're always going to feel like it's just like, where's this going necessarily? Back to kind of the first part of the question, which is you want to get to a point where you know loosely what the marketing is generating. And we call this like predictable marketing. So predictable marketing is, okay, if I were to double my marketing cost, I should loosely double the sales that I generate from that or double the return. So that's where it comes to like understanding the numbers, because if you knew, like if I was like, okay, I knew I could put $500 into this marketing machine and it will spit out $1,500 in sales, I would say spend every single cent you have for the rest of your life. Go take a loan out. Not exactly, but you know what I mean? Like just keep
A
raising it.
hundred
Like
percent.
literally every dollar should go back into this because it's going to keep paying itself off. If you're spending
Yeah.
$5 and you get $1 in sales, like, now you're like losing money on this. Okay, now you might want to reevaluate what that looks like. What do you think,
Yeah.
Bob?
And no, I agree with you 100%. Tumbleweed toys. I think what you asked a very good question, but I don't think it's the right question. So often, if you ask the right question, you'll get the right answers. And to Nick's point, in fact, I just made a Real Retail TV about this based on your question, Tumbleweed Toys. Thank you very much. But the name of the game is to really start to understand where you're getting your money from. And then when you find things that work, put more money into it. To Nick's point, if your marketing is a line item, you are throttling your potential growth, because if it's a line item and you find, a hot idea, or you have an ad that works, or you're doing something that works and you can't reinvest over your budget, you're inhibiting the amount of growth that you can get from it. To your point, Nick, if you give me $1 and I give you two back, spend them all. And
Right.
so this is a perfect why. This is why I wanted to, and I emailed or texted Maureen about it, because this whole idea of 20. And so Maureen has in-store promotion every single week, and she promotes it through all of her channels, of course. But if you know and you have a goal and you stay focused on 20 times and you're doing that every week, you can bet that your marketing is kind of dialed in, and hers is. But I loved when she shared that with our group. When she shared that, I loved the idea of, I'm not doing it if it's not getting this kind of return, or if I don't see where it's going to get to this kind of return. Because this idea of accountability is so important. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm gonna give so like listen, I know we probably in the audience here you get some eye rolls of like, hey, like actually like it's so easy just to say, it'd be so much it sounds so easy to say if you spend $100 it gives you back $200. Like that seems so easy. It's one of those things where it's very easily stated and very hard in execution. Like it's easy to say like, oh yeah, if you can spend 100 and get 200, no duh, do more of it. I'm gonna give a little bit of a hot take here. Slightly could be slightly controversial take
I
on
love a
this.
hot
And
controversial take.
you might not expect this from me or whatever, the marketing guy on a marketing call telling you about how awesome marketing is. And I would say it's actually okay if your marketing spend is almost zero. I would say, like literally, it's okay. If you have a store that has great customer service, you did the due diligence ahead of time, you have great natural foot traffic, there's people coming by your store every day, they're coming in, you buy the right product for them, they buy your product, you're growing at X% a month, you're sort of hitting your numbers, and you don't really know marketing, you don't really know where to start, I would say, honestly, as little as possible just to keep the ball going. Like I would say it's okay to not tackle this hill right now at this moment. I think as business owners, we're always taught like you got to do everything. Post on every social media platform, do this, do that, do this, go live stream, go put an e-commerce site up, da 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 da. I think sometimes it's just an unsustainable thing as a small business owner to try to tackle it all. So I
To
would say
try to
it
tackle it all. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
so I would just say like, what does that mean exactly? I personally am not a fan of just going dark on the internet, like because at the end of the day, someone walks by, they look at your Google reviews, they go to your social media page, and they don't see that you posted for 3 years. Not great because people are always looking at that. But that doesn't mean you got to be posting every day, doing all this stuff. I would say whatever makes sense for you. If you're kind of in this like non-marketing focus mode, I would say do as minimum as possible. Post, once or twice a week, or maybe once a week. Send out 2 emails a month to your base, and then keep that going. So that way, when you want to invest more into it, and then I would spend that time personally testing, like to try to get to this. Like, if I'm only going to do 1 or 2 posts a week, I'm going to do two totally different posts every week to try to see if I can test something that will have a more ROI positive effect.
Okay, so that's a hot take, and I love it. But let me sort of add to it.
Sure.
The first thing I'm going to say is I'm going to disagree with you strongly that 2 emails a month is enough. I'm looking at everybody, and so my opinion is you need to send one email every single week, high value email every week. So that's the first thing, and that you should be able to do that. You need to make
Totally.
that point about it. But then I love what you said about trying to do too much. But another way to look at it In fact, everybody who's here, if you wouldn't mind putting in chat, what is your biggest challenge in your business? Is it getting people into the store? Is it new customers? Is it getting repeat customers? So what's the challenge there? Because when I look at it, when I have a conversation with a client, it's always sort of where is the problem and where is the opportunity? Because every problem is an opportunity. So a lot of people, they start a store, and the problem and the opportunity is they don't have traffic. And so if you don't have traffic, there are specific marketing tactics to acquire new customers. So that's where you spend your time. Chris Barnett just said foot traffic. Let's have a little marketing conversation here, Chris. So if you don't have, Jody's the same way. If you don't have enough foot traffic, there are two things to think about. Number one is how do you reactivate and engage your current customers? And wow, this is really three people in a row. And this is where Nick comes in. I mean, this is where One Shop is so valuable because it's a lot easier to get a current customer into your store than it is to go out and find a new customer. So repeat local customers. So I'm hearing this again and again and again. This goes back to this whole idea of why I think that rather than spending a lot of time on social media, don't get me wrong, I love social media, but email marketing is something that I'm so passionate about because with social media, you rent the list. With email marketing, you own the list. So if you can, understand that if you don't have enough traffic, the thing to do is to find ways to get your current customers to come in more often. That is, in my opinion, what I would do is I would really start to double down on having more in-store events. They don't have to be big events. They don't have to be sales. You can actually go to our website, whizbangtraining.com, and there's a whole thing. There's 5 different kinds of promotions, and only one of them is about a store-wide discount. But just to start to focus on, I'm going to have things in my store, and I'm going to do the things that get those people into my store. That's the first thing. And the second thing, that really speaks to what you're talking about, Nick, that I agree with, is so many people put so much energy into social media. Again, I'm not slamming social media, but the most efficient way to build your business is to increase your average ticket. Because
Totally.
what you're doing there is you're taking the traffic that's already in your store and you're doing more with it. And so, that's sales training, it's product training. If you don't know about the Retail Sales Academy, go to the retailsalesacademy.com. You can learn about it. Oh, I saw somebody saying, Zach Stewart, building the systems and processes. Got the Retail Academy and loving it. There you go. Thank you. Here's what I'm going to say, and then we'll move on to the next question, is understand, and this is really important, that every time you have a problem, there's 2 different solutions or there's 2 different responses. And one is to get stressed out about it. And the other, and that's a common response, the other is to say, I have a problem, and every problem points to a skill that needs to be developed. Foot traffic, I just sort of broke it down for you. Talk to Nick about how to reactivate those customers. So every time you have a problem, don't get curious. Don't get furious, get curious, don't get bitter, get better, and say, look, what do I need to know? And then go out and get those skills. Go ahead, Nick. You had
Yeah,
something.
so yeah, I totally agree with you, Bob. And so just to like flesh this out, I mean, so many of you guys said foot traffic. When I say I don't think you need to invest in marketing, that's if your foot traffic is great. If your
Right.
foot traffic is not a problem, that's like, okay, great. Focus on other things, maybe first. So, and what we're finding more success with when we work with retail stores, I spend every day working with retail stores, going to retail stores, working with our customers. Like I'm basically just in the weeds with our customers every single day. And I think that, and most people on this call are going to make the same mistake, myself included, with our business. Anyone who's worked with our business for a long time, like I'm constantly working on this with our business. Most people make the mistake, I'm just going to go with the averages here, of looking at these problems and trying to solve them too broad. Like for example, I'm gonna go back. I love this comment from Vanessa saying we have 12,000 emails in our database, 12,000, I'm assuming people in our database. So maybe not emails, but let's just assume they have emails, and 2,000 are regular shopping with us. How do we get those back other than once a year at Christmas? The mistake that we see people making is like, okay, great. I'm going to look at this problem, which is I need 10,000 customers to try to get them back in store. And they do like one action, which is basically, okay, let's send them an email and offer them a 10% discount. They send the one email and they go to the next thing and they're like, oh, now, okay, great, now I'm going to go figure out how to post more often on Facebook. And then they start posting a little bit on Facebook and they go to the next thing and they're like, okay, great, now how do I figure out how to get my e-commerce site up? And I feel like we're finding more success in deep sprints for a very, very specific problem. Almost the more specific the better, like especially when it comes to marketing. So we're seeing like, okay, I'm going to spend the next 30 days or 45 days in our business literally obsessed with these 10,000 customers. I don't care about anything else, any of the other noise. New customers, Facebook ads, like, I don't care about that for right now. I'm just purely focused on these 10,000 customers. So what does that allow you to do? Because I would say the answer would be most people's default would go, let's send one blast to 10,000 and say, here's 10% off. Let's go do that. Our system can help you with that. I would say that's definitely the wrong action because in those 10,000 people, even you said here, Vanessa, which is how do we get those back other than once a year at Christmas? You're going to have a certain portion that bought a gift for a significant other. They're not even buying for themselves. So like you're not even trying to get them back in. You're trying to get like their wife back into your store. So you have that cohort. But then you do have people that like weren't shopping with you at Christmas. They just happened to shop one time with you a year ago. And you have some people that shopped 4 or 5 times with you and for whatever reason fell off. If you're going really deep and obsessing over these 10,000 customers and how to get them back in, you now can put a month-long strategy to say, we're going to break out 2,000 over here that are our first-time shoppers that haven't shopped in a year. And we're going to custom build this amazing, amazing offer to them or amazing event or whatever, specifically for them that they're going to be like, how could I not come back in? And then you're going to do another one over here to the gift buyers. And maybe you're going to have them come do an early wish list event. Like, hey, come into our store, prep your holiday gift for this, whatever, or do a birthday event for the specific other. You can break them into more chunks. And so we tend to find more success going really deep in a specific vertical, obsessing over it, getting maybe not an expert at it, but getting a lot better with it, and then layering on the next thing after the fact. I don't know. What do you think about that, Bob?
I absolutely love what you have to say there because when I call it a little of this, a little of that marketing, and a little of this, a little of that is a problem because you're never learning the lessons while you're doing the things.
Yep.
To your point, this whole idea of 80/20, just really, really focusing on the one thing. Keller, I don't remember his first name, wrote a book called The One Thing, and that's his whole deal, right?
Yeah.
And he built Keller Williams, the real estate franchise. But he did that by saying, "What's the one thing?" And so I love what you said to Vanessa too, because if you have so if you think about that, and my guess is Vanessa, if you dug a little deeper, uh, you would find that of that 10,000, that there are a couple people who shop more than once a year. Although I'm going to ask Nick about statistics here in just a second. But when you start to look at it, it just really what he says makes sense. Because if you can take, let's just say you have let's just say there's 10,000 inactive or 10,000 that are shopping once a year. If you can get those 10,000 to shop twice a year, you have doubled the annual value of 10,000 customers. You've essentially added 10,000 transactions to your annual sales. But then if you can get them in 3 times, it really is a numbers game. And you just look at it that way. And, we talked about this idea earlier, Nick, about lifetime value. And lifetime value is your average ticket multiplied by the number of times people shop every year, multiplied by the number of times per year. And Nick, the thing that One Shop does so incredibly well is, yes, focus on more transactions per customer, focus on the value of the relationship. And the only thing that I'm going to add to what you said, because I loved what you said and I thought it was the perfect response to Vanessa's question. The only thing that I would add to that is I would not ever send somebody a 10% reactivation coupon, because 10%, in my experience, and maybe because you have the data, I'm wrong, but anecdotally, in my experience, 10%, I mean, people yawn at 10%. Anybody who's part of our community knows that I'm all about the gift certificate, the rule of reciprocity. So I don't know what your average ticket is, but if you can send out a $20 gift certificate, the response, or a $10 gift certificate, the response you get from that goes way up. So anyway, go ahead, Nick. You.
Oh, I totally agree with you, Bob. What I was saying is 10% was the wrong thing to do. Like I think we see it
Oh,
too often.
okay, good.
We see too often. People just go to like the easiest possible thing, which is like whatever the first promotion in my head is, 10%. I'm just gonna throw it on there, email
Yeah,
the whole list, and
yeah, yeah.
hopefully more
No,
of them
no,
come
no, no,
back.
no.
Like, and that's what we say, like, to what you're doing is think one layer deeper, right? One
Yes.
layer deeper, which is what is my average transaction value? I love the idea of a gift certificate. Can we use that to our advantage?
Yes, good. So I would like you to talk about, because I've referenced this so many times.
Yep.
So Nick spoke to our Platinum Mastermind Group meeting in Asheville, North Carolina, 2 years ago, and it was just a real aha for me. It was something I knew, but I didn't know. And you talked about the percentage of people, even in good stores, even with our best clients, like the people who are in the Platinum Mastermind Group, a number of them are your clients. So
Yep.
you see their data, and I know what they do, and they're really good at what they do. But the number of, even in the best merchants, the percentage of people who only come in once or twice. And, it blew my mind. Talk to it. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, we look at this number every day in my company. I have my whole team looking at it with any new customers we have. We think a lot about it. We're constantly trying to figure out new ways of approaching it. This is one of those easier said than done things, by the way. So, universally,
Yeah.
across every retailer we've always worked with, universally, around 70% of customers never come back for the first time. So, like, on average, even the best retailers, like the best we've ever gotten, I think is like 50%. The best we've ever gotten in the history of our company, like, is 50%
That's
of 50% of new customers come and buy one thing and then never come back ever again. They come in, they buy, and they're gone. Boom. In retail specifically, we have a few restaurants like now on the platform that for some reason restaurants it's a little bit better, but in retail specifically, yeah, it's on average 70%. So 7 and 10 people in a week. You tried so hard to get them as new customers in store. Come in, they buy a hat or they buy a toy or whatever, and they just never come back again. So I would say, like, and just internalize that for a second,
yeah.
with the number being that
No.
high. And frankly speaking, by the way, when Bob says he didn't internalize it, took me a bunch of reporting to be like, guys, we made a mistake. Like I told my tech team, like, there's no way this is right. There's no way this
Right.
is like run it again. Like there's just no way that this is correct. And we've just ran it enough times that it absolutely is correct. So even if you're already doing initiatives here, I would say that most people, myself included, are underthinking the amount of effort they need to put to keeping that first time shopper. Like even if you're meeting once a week on it, it's such a valuable number that like you should be meeting more. Like you should be putting more thought into getting this first time shopper to shop a second time because after the
So so
second
let
time,
so let's talk about this for a second. So let's do another rating. So on a scale of 1 to 10, one, you think that that nobody ever comes back, and 10, you're proactive about it. Give it a give it a rating here in chat. But and I apologize. I talk about the Platinum Mastermind Group a lot because these are the people I know their businesses very, very well, and they're really good and I know them well. Somebody once accused me, you talk about the Platinum Mastermind Group all the time. Well, it's because the examples I have, but I'm going to give an example from the Platinum Mastermind Group. And this is Lewis and Jill from the Pet Bistro, and they learned this from that show, Restaurant Impossible. And so in Restaurant Impossible, or I'm just going to share what Lewis and Jill do. They have a pet store and pet bistro, clearly. But when somebody is a new customer, how do they identify a new customer? They identify a new customer by the fact that they're not in the loyalty program. So every customer, it should be a non-negotiable standard that when somebody comes to the counter, that you're asked, the customer is asked, are you a member of our loyalty program? Yes, I am. No, I'm not. Would you like to be a member? If they got a great experience, they're going to say, yes, we would. But then there is a three-part series that gets triggered. And so the first thing is come in within 30 days. And I don't remember the exact what the offer was. But the first one is come in within 30 days and get this thing. And then when they come in and redeem that thing within the first 30 days, they get another thing. These are physical pieces of paper, and the team member writes the amount of writes the expiration date, and it happens a third time. And in direct response, there's this concept called recency, frequency, and value. And recency is, when's the last time? How recently have they been in? Frequency is how often they come in. And both of them lead to value. And so what they're really doing there is they're proactively getting people into the store 3 times. And I'm looking at everybody who is on this call and saying, if you get somebody into your store 3 times in the first 90 days that they're your customer, and you haven't nailed down that relationship, it's probably time for you to go back and take a look at your customer experience, do an audit there, and figure out what to do with it. So I love what you just shared there. So good. So I haven't seen anybody putting questions. Those of you who are here in the audience, please put any questions if you have them. So Nick,
So
do you want me?
while you guys drop those questions in there, because we want to answer more questions, I do want to add one more thing to that, Bob, for the
Sure.
first time shopper. I would say that we see so few people doing this, but the few people who do they have massive success with it. And it's gonna be like kind of like a weird thought. And so my and you can take it one of two ways here, but I would say when you have a first time shopper who does not shop a second time, I would email them, and it should be an automated flow, so you don't have to do any work. You definitely should not put any work into this. I would email them for the rest of their lives. I kid you not. Like, I would try to get them back in store for eternity, like for the rest of time. Of course, I'm being a little facetious, like in general, but literally, I would look at basically like, what is my average in a year? What is my average first to second time shopper? My average customer when they do shop multiple times, let's say they shop every month. Okay, like you have a pet store and they should be shopping every month. I would basically be like, okay, after they haven't hit that 1 month time frame, email one to the first time shopper with an offer or some kind of thing to get them back in store. And then I would wait another 30 days, another one. Then I'd wait 60 days, another one. You should basically have like 15 over 2 years or 15 to 20 that just like is the only job of this little like automation is to get this person to shop again. And so
Yes.
we have some customers, especially knowing the lifetime value, which and Jody, I see you're writing here. Like, well, I'll write you separately. We'll set you up my team to get all this set up with you to make sure this can work for you in one shop because we totally can do it automatically. But we have one customer, Bob, because they know the lifetime value of their customers. They know when I get them to shop again, they're worth another $500 to me.
Yeah.
And they literally just climb their discount until they're literally giving $500 in cash to that customer. It doesn't happen right away. Literally the last one is here's $500 in cash
It's a
to our
numbers
store.
game.
And they're just like, well, because I know that like by that time we've climbed it. They don't just offer $500 at the gate. They climb it over like a year. But we know by that time they're going to be gone anyways. If we can get a couple of these customers back, they're gonna use the $500 gift card and then they're going to come back again because we know of those customers, half of them come back another time. So it actually, even though it seems like they're getting tons of money away, it's like their whole business basically is that flow to be able to get them to come back in store. So,
And so somebody made the comment that they focus on lifetime value, and this is so important because the world is becoming more transactional, and so 2 years ago, or in the my opening keynote at the Retail Success Summit, the line was, you can't out Amazon Amazon, you can't out Walmart Walmart, but Amazon and Walmart together can't out you. And I think that that's so incredibly true. And so the name of the game is to establish relationships, because relationships are what Amazon and Walmart can't, or the big brands or the online brands can't or won't do. It's your only competitive advantage. And, I just, what you just said there was so spot on. I wanted to share, I was just in Salt Lake City week and a half ago at Bernina University. And I've done a lot of work with the quilting business. And so I did the lifetime value exercise. I said, how many of you have a customer who's got a lifetime value of over $50,000? Everybody raised their hands, right? 100, 200. And then we got up to $500,000, and there were still several people with their hands raised. And somebody raised their hand and said, I have 17 customers who I know have over a $500,000 in lifetime value. And to everybody who's watching this, when you start to think that way, start thinking about numbers and start thinking about how the transactions per year start to add into that number. When you stay focused on the relationship and the lifetime value, this is where you really, really start to make money. So anyway, that was my little rant. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, no, I think that makes total sense, Bobby. I just think you should be. I mean, so we got a couple good questions here, just trying to figure out how to optimize this. So Beth asked me a question: when you're measuring the 30% return customers, what time frame are you using to check? We tend to look at 2 years, because if they shopped on a running 2 year time frame, we've gone wider, by the way, Beth, and like even when we go wider, it's pretty much the same number for the most part. So we basically look at like a running scale of, if you got a new customer, last January, it's been 2 years, had they shopped again, and kind of like look at that scale specifically over 2 years, did they come back? But we widen it out. It does get a little bit better, but it doesn't go from 70% to 50%.
Got it.
Bob, I'm curious. Zach asks if your AOV is currently at $55 and they're trying to bring that up, but you're the gift card king. What gift card dollars would you offer to win back that customer at a $55 average order value?
I would offer, so this goes back to what Nick said. I would test. I would test 10 against 20. Now, this is very interesting, Zach, because I always thought, or no, I didn't always think, but for a long time, I thought that the higher value would have the better response. And I was working with a client, and she tested 5 against 10. And 5 had a much better response than 10. I mean, what she said was she got a better quality, she got more people redeeming, a better quality person redeeming, and the average ticker was higher. How come? I don't know. I mean, I'm the marketing guy. I haven't the faintest idea. Here's what I do know is the market will tell you. So Zach, so what you would want to do, and I've done this several times, I've showed this slide countless times in webinars and things like this, but our friends at Cloud9 Pajamas, they're the gift certificate kings, and they're queens. But I have a picture of their table with all of the gift certificates that were redeemed in 1 quarter. And there are literally, my guess is 25 to 30 different offers. I mean, some of them are 10, some of them are 20, some of them are 25, some of them are square, some of them are oversized, some of them have, a graphic, some of them have a photograph, and, they just test. When you test, the market will tell you what the right number is. So if your average ticket is 55, I would start by testing 10 against 20. And then when you get a winner there, then you can start to test other things. But when you do tests, only have one variable. Don't test different variables, because then you're not getting to the truth. So great question, though. Yes.
one thing to add into that, Bob, is just for Zach's question here is I I think this is so important. The first time shopper to second time shopper. And guys, when you get them to shop a second time, the chances almost double that they'll come back a third time. So the big hump is really first to second time. You have a hump a second to third time, but that is the hump, first to second time. So I'm not saying you should go out of the gate. To Bob's point, testing is king here. But I would say in general, I would be willing, if I was in your shoes, I'd be willing to break even on the second sale. So when I say break even, let's just assume here, Zach, that you're 50, you have an average order value of 55, and to keep things simple, your units per transaction is 1. Let's just say that's the case. I just happen to know that you sell apparel and home as well, because you guys work with us. But I would say, let's just say Keystone markup, I would be okay giving them up to whatever that is, $27.50, like
Right.
up to breaking even, where you're not losing money per se, but you're also, it's not discounted, so it's a full price merchandise item. You're breaking even, like you're not making any margin on that, but that's okay because you won the customer back.
So I'm going to a phrase I use regularly when I teach marketing in this sort of stack of key concepts. And one of them is break even on the first sale to break even on the front end to break the bank on the back end. And so when I say the front end, I'm generally talking about customer acquisition. So the first sale, but I absolutely love what you have to say here because the second sale, so you could actually do this twice, but the thing that I want everyone to really think about here is that you're investing in a relationship and a lifetime value. Far too often, I see people obsessing over the margin of the individual transaction rather than the value of the customer. And don't get me wrong, margins are important. But you can afford to do these little things and take a hit on the margins in the beginning of the relationship and then make all that money. So going back to a $500,000 a year customer, if you know that there's an opportunity for a $500,000 customer, that's a lot of money. So think about it that way. So good. Did you have something you wanted to say, Nick?
No, I think we should talk about Jellycats so we don't skip it
Okay,
over. I
good.
want to talk
I
about
was just going to
Jellycats.
say the great thing, the same thing. So
So
this is interesting. Go ahead, read the
yeah, I'll read the
question.
question and I'm gonna let you lead, Bob. So
Okay.
the question came from Molehole Cottage. She said, "What do you suggest we do with Jellycats?" And I've heard that question, by the way, a dozen times in the last year.
Yeah.
We sell 30 to 35 per day. When do we back off? Wholesale prices keep going up daily. We're blessed with the line. They're happy they have it. At the same time, they're very concerned about the future. A lot of exclamation marks. What do you think, Bob?
So I'm just going to give a little context here. In December of 1999, we sold over $1 million worth of yo-yo and yo-yo accessories. We had a tiger by the tail. So I absolutely understand hot product. Now, the reason that we had the reason that it was so hot, well, there were a couple things. We created the yo-yo booms. I mean, there were lots of things, but a lot of it was supply and demand. We had the supply. Everybody was looking for yo-yos, but we had the relationship. We had the account, like you do, Mohole. We had the account, and because of that, we had the supply. The bottom fell out of the yo-yo market. Literally doing, if you look at a kiosk in a mall, we were doing $15,000 days in yo-yo and yo-yo accessories off a 4x8 sheet of plywood, right? But the reason that I share that is because I know this situation. But then all of a sudden, supply caught up with demand. And we had a vice president of stores at the time. He came into me one day and he says, Bob, I walked through our mall and 7 of the stores now sell yo-yos. The furniture store was selling yo-yos. Supply caught up with demand. So with Jellycats, and I recommend this all the time when you have a blazing white hot item. slowly diminish your exposure, and the minute that you feel it, and now you're doing this every day, but the minute you feel it in your gut that there's a problem, trust your gut. You don't have to get out, but don't stay all the way in. So, and my brother Steve, who now owns the Mackinac Kite Company, he's been through the same thing with Kadimas and all these hot toys come running through. And the name of the game is with if something's hot, get in strong right away, ride it while it's hot, but then trust your gut and really, really diminish your exposure as the trend continues, because the trend's only going to take so long. And I want to share something else with you here. The prices are going up every week, right? So what they're doing is they're pushing the envelope, and then they're going to push the envelope, and then someday it's all going to come crashing down on them. And you don't want to be the one stuck with a basement full of jelly cats, like we were stuck with a basement full of yo-yos. So there's my answer based on a lot of experience.
Yeah, isn't it crazy, Bob? How it's like almost unanimously all of these trends. It's like the hotter they burn, the harder they fall. Like it's almost like when you have these spikes, you almost know it's going to happen. Like it's like, oh,
You
it's
know, you
100% of the
do
time
know
it
what's
collapses.
and and so here's and it's kind of like the stock market or crypto. When everybody's getting in is the time to get out, right? Because it's not real in that respect. So that's
Yeah.
really what I would say. I'm going to share something else that's really important is brands that get hot. Now, Jellycats is a little different, but you see it in jewelry, in home goods, and you see these brands that get really, really hot, especially in jewelry, and people become very, very enamored with the brands. I worked with somebody, and she identified her store with the brands she carried, and I really encouraged her to get out of that mentality, because here's what I've seen happen many, many, many times. I was in retail for 19 years. I've been doing this for 26 years. Is these brands regularly, almost always, think that they're better and bigger than they are. So they start to treat their customers like shit. They their quality becomes inferior. So they become victims of their own success. And the thing, to your point, the higher they go, the farther they fall. But by then they've burned all the bridges behind them. So I'm just
Yep.
encouraging everyone here, if you can get great brands, hallelujah, good for you. But always hedge your bets by having ancillary brands around them.
And there's multiple fronts. You raise a good point, Bob. Like I had something similar. I came from the menswear industry, and
Yeah,
just around COVID time, just before 2019, all the brands had On Running, the sneakers that still are very popular today.
yeah,
And it was literally their whole sneaker business. Like everyone we worked with, it was 97% of their whole sneaker business. I will never forget this. On literally December 15th, like right before Christmas, email goes out from On Running saying we're shutting down wholesale distribution. No more. There will be no more shipments. It's done. Welcome to the new year. Like we're cutting off wholesale distribution and opening our own stores overnight. And everybody went to zero, literally
yeah,
overnight. And it wasn't even because the trend died. The trend was still super hot, but now they all lost the brand because the company changed their strategy.
yeah,
So you don't want to be in that risk position.
yeah. Yes, that if you're relatively new to retail and you just heard that conversation that Nick and I just had, that conversation is worth a lot of time and money, heartache and stress to you. But trust us on that, right?
And I also think, I mean, one thing, I don't know how you feel about this, Bob. Something that I always see is that when they have something like Jellycat, everyone tries to go looking for a replacement for Jellycat, which I think is a fool's errand, personally. When these phenomenons happen where it's so hot, could you find a total apples to apples and next replacement, but I think it's harder said than done. Literally, these
No.
menswear stores that I've been looking for have been looking for the next On Running for 5 years, and
Right.
nothing's replaced it. Nothing's even
Yeah.
gotten in the same ballpark. So it's like,
Yeah.
stop looking. It's like you're on a fool's errand. You're chasing gold. You're chasing for oil. Whatever the analogy is, right? So I think it's like you have a phenomenon. You kind of market as a phenomenon, and more realistically, you're gonna, to your point, build a 20 brand matrix that's going to do the same volume as the one, but that's okay because you've diversified across those other 20 brands in your matrix.
Yes, and so and we're coming down to the end here, but I want to make one other point around this. So your merchandise mix is a really important part of your store. Your mix, sort of identifies your store, and having a mix and having all the price points and doing all those things is incredibly important to your business. Good merchants really understand how to buy, not just the open to buy, but your customer votes with their wallet. And so the best merchants are listening to their customers and buying what their customers buy, not what they like to sell. So having to sort of add on to that conversation about assortment planning, uh, at the end of the day, I'm going to encourage everyone here to think about the idea that if you work really, really hard at building the customer experience, you become a lot less vulnerable to these sorts of things because the customers become loyal to you. So the shoe brand is no longer there, but the store and the experience and the people and all of the things. So at the end of the day, the very best way for you to make yourself, make it so that you are protected from almost anything that can happen with an outside circumstance is to focus intensely on the customer experience and those relationships so that no matter what happens, they love you and they want to shop with you. Would you agree with that?
I would 100% agree.
Good.
10,000%.
Good. You can't out Walmart, you can't out Amazon, but if you stay focused, and then one more last thing, I'm James Nolan. Thank you, buddy. Looking good. All right. Okay. So we have one bra that was 20% of our sales. They sold out to a holding company and we weren't able to work with them again. So
Exactly.
again, we're doing all these things. So to sort of wrap this all up, at the end of the day, it is my experience. Now, I'm going to, certainly cop to my bias here. But at the end of the day, the best way for you to build your business for long term success is to focus on your skills, focus on your customers, and focus on your skills because you can feel a particular way towards your customers, but unless you back that up with skills, it just becomes an emotional attachment. That's all good, but at the end of the day, you need to be a good merchant. You need to be a skilled merchant. And when you're a skilled merchant who shows up as your best self, who shows up for your customers, I really think, and you and I have had this conversation, Nick, that the future of independent retail is so bright, but you have to be good and you have to be there for your customers. So Nick, any final words from you?
Sorry, I muted myself. One, my final word is if you could take anything away, we went through a lot of Q&As here. Like Bob and I do a lot of, content and different things in different places. My thing for you to take away is if you took something away from this call, whether it was what Bob said about, de-risking your top brand or what we talked about doing a first-time shopper flow, I would say try to internalize the one thing from this call, put into action as soon as possible, and really, really focus on that one thing. Don't try to take away all the notes you probably took on this call. Go try to tackle it all. Take the one thing, do a really good job with it, and then go on to the next thing. So that's my mission for you here. Go get them, and you'll have success.
I absolutely love it. And so my mission for everybody here is to call Nick McHenry. Nick has got, I mean, he's doing great things. All of our clients who are working with Nick absolutely love working with Nick. He Nick is a good guy. He cares, and he'll do good things for your business. Going back to Maureen. Maureen shared that you were one of the real reasons that you're a big part of her success. So, and I've heard that from so many different people. So, anyway, thank you all for coming. It's been an honor to have you here with us today. And I think that we are going to check off. We want to be respectful of your time, and we promise that this would be an hour. So thank you, everybody. Oh, you're
Thanks, guys.
welcome, Zach. All right, Jody, you're quite welcome. So everybody, thank you very much. Take care. Bye bye.